All right, everybody, welcome to the Asia Dating Experts, Pick Up Asia, Experts in Asia, Asia Dating podcast. We are here today to teach you how to get the Asian ladies. We do it as a job, a profession, an art form, a science, and a skill. Today, we are going to talk about side hoes. The people who are going to be talking are Kane Vust,
Red Pole Q,
and McConnell.
So, I'm going to kick things off with the side hoe topic. Side hoes are popularly known as mistresses, side pieces, and various other ways you can refer to them. What we're going to go into is why you should have a side hoe, how having side hoes helps, and generally the good bits and pieces that come with that sort of lifestyle.
And I just want to cut in really quick to say that we did an interview maybe it was like episode 10 or something, where we interviewed a girl who wanted her husband to get a side piece. So that's definitely worth listening to. And so it's Ellie on her open marriage. So you can go and look that up and you can see it. Okay, back to you, Ken.
All right, so there's a whole bunch of things we can discuss with this. The first one is I think a lot of people get a bit of a headache going when they think about having a side hoe, because they run into the moral issue and they go, oh, it's kind of like a wrong thing to do. And that blinds them to the practical aspect of having a side hoe sort of thing going. So what we're going to go into first is, what are the practical aspects? Why should someone do this? Now, the very first one I'm going to throw out there is that for a lot of guys, getting a relationship is a good thing, but it then gets kind of boring just being with one person and having sex with one girl. So when they have another option, they can usually better appreciate their main relationship, and things just get less stale. They have a lot better time at making things with their main girl better because they can make lots of comparisons. Plus, they have just like mini side hoe holidays, which seems to make things work very well.
Can you elaborate on a mini side hoe holiday?
Okay, so let's say if you've got your main girl and you spend, 4 days a week with her, and then the other 3 days of the week you spend one or two of those, let's say, with your side hoe. You aren't as committed to the side hoe, and you're not investing in terms of your time and money and effort with her as much. But the time you spend away from your main girl with the other girl gives you access to different experiences. You can do different things, both sexually and out of the bedroom. And these particular experiences you have will help you relate to your main girl better, because you can then go, okay, well, this is the thing I prefer about her and the thing I like about her better. And that's only really apparent when you have a side hoe that you are somewhat engaged with. Now, the point of the side hoe is it's like a side hoe. It's not supposed to be your main thing. It's not serious. So I say holiday because you kind of like drift off, do it for a little bit, then come back.
Awesome. Sounds good. I wanted to jump in real quick because one of the guys recently had a side hoe holiday. And he had a great time getting out into the countryside, having lots of sex, and and then he was ready to go back to his normal life. He's got a very stressful existence at the moment, making lots of money. So that side hoe stress release. Anyway, that's it.
Oh, okay. All right, great. So let's just jump into some of the practical aspects. One thing in particular I've noticed with lots of guys is that they have less neediness when they have more than one option. And I found with a lot of guys when they get into...
Maybe you can explain what you mean by neediness. Because I think
well,
that's kind of a term that a lot of the average normal people unfamiliar with the world of pickup and the red pill may not know about.
So when you have scarcity, you don't have enough of something, you feel that, and that comes out. So it's kind of like if someone is short on money and then someone gives them an opportunity to make a quick buck, they're going to show a lot of keenness, a lot of desperation to make that money because they feel a distinct lack of it or a scarcity. Neediness is kind of the same way. If you have a guy that is like your typical average guy who gets very rarely any girls, or most of the girls he gets are fat. Then when some sort of
Or fat and ugly.
when some sort of okay option comes along, they're then going to show a lot more interest and come across as a lot more needy. And I think the most cliche way that everyone sees this these days is via text message, because everyone's always texting each other. And you'll have some guy who'll like message a girl and be like, "Hi, Jessica, what are you doing?" And then like 5 minutes later, he'll be like, "Oh, Jessica, did I miss your phone call? I was in the shower." Another 5 minutes later, it's like, "Oh, Jessica, I was thinking about you and just wondering if you saw my other messages." And then the fourth message in, so Jessica, why aren't you replying? I'm sorry if I'm bothering you too much. I'll stop talking now. 10 minutes later, Jessica, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I think you're really mean. And meanwhile, Jessica's just spending 2 hours like blow drying her hair or something, right? But the lack of response from this girl makes this person feel more and more desperate to try and push for a response, and they're trying to get control of the situation. So
Yeah, that's a big problem. Guys sending messages or just for the purpose of generating a reaction, and not thinking and from a bigger picture perspective, and thinking, oh, okay, well, if I am able to, if this girl's actually is paying me any attention, I want to make sure she's paying attention to me for the right reasons, because she thinks I'm an attractive guy, and because she thinks I have an interesting life. And a lot of times guys are just like, oh, let me send her a video of me pulling down my pants with my buddy because it's funny.
yeah, so not being in
experience
control
with
of
that
your
one.
emotions and having your emotions like override your decision-making process is always really, really bad in any situation, especially when it comes to girls and dating, because it's so easy to make mistakes and for girls just to write you off. Now,
Definitely. I mean, because basically girls are just looking for a reason to eliminate you. If they're hot, they're just like, because they have so many choices. It's like in like one of the Ivy League schools, anybody with a GPA under a certain level, they just cut them immediately. They're just like, yeah, let's just toss those so we can reduce the number of applications we have to look through.
yep, pretty much. So we're talking about how having a side hoe limits your neediness. And first, I think we've understood what neediness is. It's that kind of creepy feeling that people have when someone shows more interest than is warranted based on the current status of the relationship or lack of relationship. And then two, how does a side hoe help or affect this? So the thing I said before was that it's mainly based around scarcity. And if you have one girl and things going well, then great. Everything's great. You're not going to really feel too much of a strong level of neediness or scarcity because you feel fulfilled. But if she suddenly then stops spending as much time with you or starts pulling back, then a lot of guys are going to start to feel some level of scarcity in this situation. And a lot of the time they start running towards the girl. Now, if they have a side hoe, they can look at this and go, oh, okay, well, if you're going to like run away from me, or if you're going to pull back and restrict the amount of time and attention you're giving me, I'll just like go over here for a bit. So they feel more secure because they have more options. Now, I think this is something that occurs. I don't think it is an ideal way to deal with it, but it is still important to understand how this particular thing works and how this is very different for women. Because if you get an average guy who's, let's say, a 7 in terms of looks and his overall personal value, and you get a girl, again, 7 in terms of looks and overall value, and you compare the amount of options and attention they both get from the opposite sex, I mean, it is worlds different, just worlds different. And girls basically don't have to do anything and will have lots and lots of options, even if they're just average and they just sit on Instagram and do nothing and don't leave the house. But for guys, it's just not true.
Yeah, a lot of guys find this really, really frustrating, especially all those red pill guys. It really upsets them. And, when it's one of those things that it's like, well, that's the reality. So just get over it and figure out how to use the facts to your advantage. And one of the ways that works to your advantage is that most guys are too busy being upset about it to actually go and do something. And they want to spend all their time whining about how terrible things are. And while those guys are whining, the rest of us are out there getting it.
Yeah, so what we're touching on here is that like the victim mentality rarely works out well unless you just really want to be a victim.
Yeah, no thanks. That's how you end up bent over with your asshole being lubed up. Not a fan.
So not having been there myself, I have no comments on that.
I've only been there metaphorically.
I'm glad to hear that. Moving.
And thank God for that.
Yes,
as Jordan Peterson would say.
Thank God, and I guess good decision making.
Yeah.
So, moving briskly along, I will say that I think one of the biggest things people can do to ward off the good old neediness thing is to work on their self-worth. And essentially what happens mentally is that they have some girl and then things aren't going well with the girl or whatever, something causes neediness. And that on a usually subconscious level makes them go, oh my God, I don't think I'm good enough to get the value or time or attention I want from this person. So then they start doing other things to try and compensate. And you can band-aid it, but generally you're just going to need to like deal with it by kind of analyzing yourself, the way you think, the way you behave, the way you live your life, and then making some major adjustments to improve on that. So just touching on it slightly, but there's a really good book called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem that you should check out if you want to work on this particular thing. Now,
just let me just jump in there and say two things. One, even if you don't think self-esteem is your problem, and it's just valuable for learning how to install improved mindsets in general. And the other aspect I want to touch on really quickly here is that a lot of times people aren't living their authentic lives. We often joke about this idea of authenticity, but what I mean in this case is not authenticity in the way that it is typically thought of. What I mean is that people aren't accepting what they really want for themselves, and they aren't setting up their lives so they can pursue that.
Integrating the Jungian shadow.
That's right. Yes.
As some people would say.
Yeah, that's very important. So, I think that's a big part of it, is that a lot of guys, and not just guys, girls too, they might not feel comfortable acknowledging that they have a rape fantasy, for example. But if they did and they play it out, then they'll find happiness on the other side. So, it doesn't only have to be about sex. It can be about how you spend your life. One of the guys, he went to engineering school because his mom really wanted him to be an engineer, or he got a degree in engineering rather. And then now he's like, I don't want to do that. And he was trying to be a painter. Or there was a guy who decided to quit his banking job and be a comedian. And it's like, that's what I mean by being authentic. So I think that's a big part of it. And I think that if you feel like maybe you have some trouble with this, then I would recommend reading Radical Honesty. It's a great book if you focus on the inner honesty aspect, especially. Okay. But anyway, back to you, Kane.
All right. So I was just talking about that and then rape fantasies. Yeah, I mean, we're not saying go and like set up some situation where you get raped. When we say rape fantasies, we just mean engaging in it in a safe, controlled manner that you choose. Now,
that's right. You should have a safe word.
Exactly. So the other thing we just touched on was that people.
Wait. Before let's talk about safe words really quick. What do you have? Will you have a safe word, McConnell?
Yes.
What's the safe word that you use? I mean, not you. I mean, the girl. I assume you're not.
Well, actually, I don't. In my current situation, I don't have one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at her request.
Oh, so what safe words have you used in the past?
It's usually, I don't know. I think, yeah. I guess you have coconut.
Well, it's my first time to have a safe word.
It's
I
funny
busted
because
my safe word cherry.
It's funny because I've used fruits also. I
Oh,
think I had banana once.
banana.
Yeah.
But what if the girl was like, "Give me that big banana"? Okay, she wouldn't say big. I know in your case,
That's right. That's right. She'd say, "Give me that." You know the bananas they sell in Thailand, like the small ones that are all bunched up. She would say, "Give me that Thai street banana."
Oh, okay. There you go. So banana, that was one of your safe words?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
at one point.
How about you, Kane? Have you used some safe words?
No, fuck that.
Oh, really? You don't believe in safe words?
Well, I mean, it's not that I don't believe in it. I just don't think I need it.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I manage things well enough that it's not
So
necessary.
gentle, feminine, is that why?
Pardon?
I said because you're so gentle and effeminate in the bedroom, is that why?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
By the way, Kane is also known as Supreme Choker.
Well, I've never heard of this before. I have no comment and I deny all allegations.
Okay, but anyway, so safe words basically are a way for if you're involved with a girl, and actually, what your point, Kane, is pretty interesting because I've never used a safe word either, and that's largely because there's a progression that where the roughness is gradually increasing. So because of that, I always know what the girl's limits are because I just am slightly, increasing them. But recently, I special request. We amped it up much more quickly than usual. So you got to reward good behavior. So there we were with the safe word.
So who said it first, you or her?
You know me. It's always me. It's a coconut.
The next podcast is going to be about Red Pill Q's foray into pegging.
That will not be a topic of discussion.
Yeah, we won't discuss it. It's just what's going to happen.
No pegging, period. There won't be any. That's not one of the things that was covered or discussed or practiced in Pickup Asia or Asia dating experts. Although we do know of a cute little Asian girl that does peg her much larger boyfriend. But, we don't know details. We just heard it from friends of friends. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't really think we should be discussing pegging. That doesn't really seem relevant to this. Kane, is this relevant to the side hoe? Is that part of the side hoe thing, is the pegging?
Not as far as I know.
Oh, okay. All right, just checking.
Well, if you read Radical Honesty and you realize something about yourself, then I guess it could be.
That's true. If you are into pegging, then that's totally cool. We just don't know anything about it. Well, at least I don't know anything about it. I can't speak for Kane and McConnell.
Reddit knows about it. You can go look on there.
All right, so back to the side host. As I said, the first thing is it lowers people's neediness, and in that regards, it's a good thing. Now, it's not just good on a personal level. In some ways, it's actually good for your girl because then she's going to be happier with how you are as a person. Now, you don't always
when you say your girl, you mean your main girl.
Well, probably both of them, but yeah, mainly your main girl because she's the one that you care about the most because she's your main girl, and the side hoe is just like the side hoe.
Okay.
So being less needy is potentially good for your relationship with her. It also is giving you an opportunity for you to sort yourself out and improve things. That way you can have a better relationship with both.
Can you explain how being involved with a side piece, side hoe, second stringer, mistress, Thai girl, whatever you want to call it, how that fits in with improving yourself and improving your main relationship? Because I think a lot of people would think that if you want to improve your main relationship, then you should focus in on your main relationship 100%, 110%.
So I think it's a pretty big topic. To narrow something down on it, though, one of the primary things is that when you're involved with multiple people, you can have a better perspective on things you like and dislike and what you want and don't want. And as a guy being in relationships, I think it's, if you're in one relationship with one person, there's a lot of pressure to do things to a certain standard. And I think girls are very practiced at putting pressure on guys and kind of like nagging them into submission or boxing them in certain ways. So they become quite narrow in how they do things. Now, when you have a side hoe, I mean, of course, as I said, you're going to have different experiences with her as you would to your normal girl. And it could just be that, let's say your side hoe is always suggesting you try different types of food. And then you realize that things with your main girl, you and her just kind of like eat the same thing all the time. You could go, oh, well, it's actually better if we like go out and do more stuff because I really enjoy doing that with the side hoe. So then you start doing that with your main girl and you start taking her out to different sorts of restaurants. And then she's going to be happy because she's going out and doing stuff. And she's trying new things. And it could just be that one of them is like higher in openness or is more outgoing than the other. So because you've got two different personalities you're engaging with, you get this like different mixture of experiences that could be useful when it crosses over. In terms of the bedtime action, I mean, that in and of itself is already pretty valuable because let's say that your side host like really good in bed in particular ways, and that also shows you some stuff you could do with your main girl. It could be the opposite thing. It could be that your main girl is like really good in bed, but you've been banging her a long time. So then you get a side hoe, and when you bang the side hoe for a bit, you're like, wow, this side hoe is like really not that good in this way. And it makes you enjoy sex with your main girl more because she's like is better at doing whatever she's doing, playing the pork flute or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that that you just made two really good points, which is that when you're with like the same girl all the time, what tends to happen is that the good things about her, or well, this is just in life in general, but you know, we start to take the good things for granted and they become invisible and we don't notice them anymore. And we just notice the things that really annoy us and piss us off. And what happens when you have like another girl to compare to, then what happens is that you realize that when you're with your main girl, her positive qualities kind of jump out at you again because you have something else to compare or someone else to compare them to. And so you go, oh, wow, yeah, you know, this side girl, she doesn't have this, she doesn't have this, she doesn't have this. And so it makes it easier to focus on the good points. So yeah, I definitely noticed that. And the other point you were making, which is that when you're with somebody else, they give you different experiences. So when you're with the same person all the time, it's easy to fall into routines and just start being really lazy about everything. And when you have like a side piece, then, you know, you're less inclined to do that. I think there's a third thing, which is that when you know that you are seeing somebody else or that you're involved with somebody else, you feel like you probably should be a little bit better to your main girl because, you know, you're not really giving her what she wants exactly. And so you kind of feel you need to compensate. It's sort of like if you travel a lot for work, then whenever you're home, you're going to be like extra nice and sweet to your girl because, you know, you feel bad that she misses you when you're away, something like that.
Yeah, so I think you've summarized that quite well.
Chief Summarizer, Red Bull Q. Thank you.
So just to bounce something off what you just said, I think that your behavior when you have a side hoe, your behavior with your main girl also changes subtly. Like how you respond to drama and nagging and how socially kind of switched on you are is also quite different. And I'm pretty sure this is like the same for most people, but basically if you are socially engaging with multiple girls regularly, and especially if you're like banging multiple girls regularly, how smooth you are, how switched on you are socially is really quite different to if you're just with one girl and you're always just getting your social feedback from that one particular girl. And it's because you have to negotiate with like these different personalities and humor and ways of speaking. So I think that's also quite a plus. It's a plus mainly for you, but it also can affect the other areas of your life. And anybody who goes out and like, let's say you talk to 5 different girls at a party, and you're going to find that you're much more switched on then than if you just like talk to one girl in 1 month, like one time. So that can play over to your work, to other areas of your personal life. There's like a multitude of ways that would actually help. But anyway, I would say the biggest ones are how you respond to drama and nagging and how switched on you are socially.
So how would you say that you respond differently to drama when you have when you interact with other women on a regular basis?
Well, most of the drama is going to come from your main girl because she's had more time to become unhappy with you for some reason.
And also because she's generally more emotionally engaged. So things that aren't exactly right upset her more.
Yeah, so she's had more time to go crazy, basically. And if you have a side hoe, then you won't feel as like boxed in because you know if your main girl's like annoying you too much, you can just go and see the side hoe. So you won't be as willing to put up with her shit, or you might like call her on some of her like bad behavior or when she's like pushing you too much. And that's quite different for a lot of people because there are lots of guys out there, I think, who basically they have lots of bad associations or habits from growing up having a single family with a mum dominating them or just an overbearing mother. So then when they get a main girl, they don't realize it, they get a main girl, the main girl kind of like subconsciously takes on that role and starts like pressuring them into shit. And when they don't have any other option, they kind of just like go along with it, but they become resentful and annoyed. So if they have a side hoe, they're much more willing to push back and they'll be like, nah, we're not doing that shit. Or they'll realize that maybe they should push back.
So you think pushing back is good?
Well, I think actually the opposite. I think being too much of a pushover is bad. And it's really hard to maintain a balanced perspective without having some sort of external feedback via like other girls who would treat you differently.
So what do you think the problem is with being a pushover? A lot of people would say that's just being a nice, considerate guy.
Because it makes girls drier than the Sahara Desert, and girls inherently are going to test you constantly because they need to know that you're still strong, still there to take care of them, and that you can like keep your shit together. So I don't think that they're going around and constantly shit testing you, but they are constantly like pushing back against your frames just because they need some sense of security. And that comes from knowing that you're congruent and reliable. So most of the time, for I'd say the majority of people, when guys and girls get into a relationship, the girl will start to like mold her life and her personality and her reality around the guys. And if the guy is like weak or showing a lot of incongruence, that's going to send her batshit crazy because then she has no stability and she's trying to like base her thing around him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If the guy stops pushing back, then the girl kind of doesn't know what's really going on because she's just like pushing too far and he's just going with it because he doesn't want to deal with the stress. And I think that just starts to get the girl developing disdain and making her somewhat insecure because she can't really rely on the guy as much because she feels like she's the one driving the car.
Right. But I think that this goes back to the overarching problem that of a guy not having a plan for what he's trying to do and where he's trying to take the relationship and what's happening with it in general, right? Because the idea is that if you have a goal and a plan in mind and you've been thoughtful enough about her and what she wants also, then she should follow along because, well, you're supposed to have the qualities of a leader. And that means that you know what the higher purpose is. And so she should want to assist and support that plan. And if you have a plan, then you're going to stand up for yourself by default, right? So it's more that this standing up for yourself or standing up for your position on things is an indication that you have some kind of plan.
Yep. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if you have a plan on what you want and where you're going, you'll also be better at setting up particular boundaries or guidelines that that are going to help guide things towards you getting that result. And I mentioned sort of this earlier. I mean, if you have multiple girls, then for most guys, you're going to feel more entitled about setting up those particular guidelines and pushing for what you want. And I think that this is mainly because our entitlement is based on the results for a lot of people, is based on the results we get in terms of our interactions with others. So if you have like 2 or 3 girls that you're regularly giving hot beef injections to, then you can kind of like unconsciously look at yourself and go, all right, well, I should be like able to get what I want because the results are there in front of me saying I can get what I want.
I think there's another aspect too, which is that, if you're seeing multiple girls, then you have to like run things much tighter, because if you don't, then things get messy very quickly and very easily. So I think that's another aspect, because you understand that if everyone's going to be happy and you're not going to have, a cat fight happening, then, you need to manage the relationships you have very carefully.
Yeah, I think that's pretty on point. And then I guess one of the most important aspects of having a side hoe or multiple side hoes, or just call them what we usually call them, which is regulars and then cameo girls, is that you get to figure out your kind of relationship guidebook more quickly. And it's essentially the idea that you have this sort of messed up instruction manual on how you are as a person and how you kind of work and fit into relationships and what you need to make things work. And you don't really know what that is, and the girl doesn't know what that is, and you don't know what hers is. So the more times you like stumble around the dark and smash your head into walls, the quicker you figure out, oh, okay, this is how this works, this is how I work in this way, this is what I want here, this is what I don't want there. And a lot of people think they like know what they want, but as we mentioned earlier, they're not really embracing the darkness within. So they don't really know what they want, just lying to themselves and deluding themselves and probably rescuing cats. So that's why you kind of have to stumble around and bash into the wall a few times to figure out what are the things you really want and don't want. And I mean, there's a multitude of examples for this. Lots of people get into a relationship that they're not really happy with, but it's just there was someone there who was being nicer to them than everyone else. And then they like get with that person and feel bad about not giving them what they want, even though what they're getting is not really what they want. So then they stick with it until they can't tolerate it anymore, and eventually they break up, and then it's just bad for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people they feel pretty uncomfortable with dealing with whatever the dynamics are in their relationship that they're unhappy with, or with whatever is in themselves that they're unhappy with too.
Yeah, so on a relationship guidebook thing, as I said, I think this is like the most important thing that you can get from your experiences with relationships, and side hoes really help with that. And you got to think in terms of time. Like, let's say you have a relationship with someone for 3 years. What can you learn in those 3 years, right? All right, together 3 years, and you break up, and you have another relationship for 2 years. You've had 2 relationships in 5 years. What are the chances that what are the chances that you are going to figure out everything in those 5 years about how you work and think and want your relationships to be well enough that you can then go, oh, let's get married and have a kid and do all this other stuff? To be honest, from what I've seen with people, they're pretty low. So if you have a bunch of girls, or if you're a girl and you have a bunch of guys, you can pretty quickly figure out what it is you want and what you like and don't like, just by having lots and lots of different experiences in a shorter amount of time, which better equips you for dealing with yourself and others in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that most guys, especially, well, no, most girls are pretty bad at this too, but they just don't have enough relationship experience, period, to know how to run a relationship decently. And it probably didn't matter that much, 40 years ago, because it was pretty standard about how relationships were, and how life was. But everything is a lot more unstable, or a lot more chaotic, I guess you could say, in terms of relationships and in terms of people's lifestyles. And there's so many different choices of how to live, and it's really hard to pick a blueprint and just follow that and just expect that to all work out, because people's expectations have expanded so much. And so that ability to start with the right person, or relatively the right person anyway, and then to negotiate with them so that you can both be happy with one another is, very, very difficult. And it takes a lot of skill and a lot of self-knowledge, as you've already said. So, when you have more relationships, then you get a lot better at that.
Yeah, I would also say that your sex game improves quite dramatically too, right? Because let's say you're really good at playing the acoustic guitar, and if you just play that acoustic guitar like every day for like 5 years, yeah, great. You're going to be pretty good at that at the end of 5 years. If someone throws you a violin, you are fucked. Whereas if you're like on the daily playing the acoustic guitar, playing the piano, maybe sometimes jumping on a trombone, I don't know, and then playing a violin, playing a harmonica, end of the year, I mean, you're going to be a working, musically enhanced band freak that can just play anything really well. And for the slow listeners out there, what I'm talking about is if you're with multiple girls, you get to figure out all the different quirks and ways that they do or don't orgasm and enjoy bedtime. So then you're better equipped to do that in a diverse and pleasurable manner with the lucky ladies of your choice in the future.
Especially since, as the guy, you're generally going to be the one who's leading the sexual experience. So since you have to lead, it's very difficult, if your range of knowledge is really narrow, to lead people anywhere. And this is why, if you're a virgin and you're 20, 21, 22, 25, 30, it becomes increasingly difficult to lose your virginity, because the girls are expecting an increasing level of skill on your part in terms of navigating things towards sex and just being good at sex in general and foreplay and all of that. And so what happens if you don't have sexual experience, or you have very little, then the fact that the girl has certain expectations, you disappoint them very easily. I mean, guys disappoint women very easily anyway. So, it's even harder when you don't have much experience. So, that's really spot on.
And you could like not be the one leading. The girl expects you to lead the relationship in the sexual way, right? You could not be doing that. But then, as Red Pork U and the young cub mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you're probably going to suffer from the disorder known as pegging if you're not leading.
That's true. If your ideal fantasy is to be pegged, have a woman walk all over you and pee in your mouth and tie you up and beat you, then yeah, you don't need to pay any attention to what we're talking about here.
But if you would rather be doing all the fun stuff that involves you not being pegged and getting to do all the things that you actually want to do with chicks, then listen on.
That's right. I mean, we were just looking at the 2018 Pornhub statistics. The top 10, 20 porn, pegging was not on there.
Thank God.
Well, with the way things are going, maybe 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a big winner for a lot of what is it, beta cuck.
Oh, liberal beta no, liberal white knight.
No. You got it all
Liberal.
wrong, man. Liberal, beta, white knight, anti-gun, cuck, faggot.
Thank you, McConnell. You're welcome. He's always good with this.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to start a new series, a new kind of term. So you're familiar with this term "fuckboy," right, Kane?
Yeah.
Maybe we should start the new term "peg boy." Look at that peg boy.
Well, how is that different from shy boys? I mean, shy boys are kind of like an unconfirmed peg boy.
Well, I think peg boy is definitely more insulting. Shy boy is kind of like cute. Also, shy boy can apply to gay guy, whereas peg boy, you have to be straight to be a peg
we don't
boy.
actually know if shy. I mean, Vision just used it in that way one time, and then we were like, "Oh, I guess that's what it means too." So,
right. But I don't think
anything, most of the pickup Asia lingo is defined by Vision.
Whoa! Honorable mention to Sage.
That's true. Good point.
So but yeah, maybe we need to start this new trending word, peg boy.
Well, you're the domain name collector, so.
Well, I don't know, but you're the Instagram master. You could probably get a good peg boy hashtag going.
No, it's against the terms of service.
Is it really?
I mean, pegging content. I'm pretty sure all the sexual content is against. You can't even show nipples, so I don't think.
No, you're not going to be showing guys getting pegged.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
You're just going to be talking about guys who are obviously peg boys.
All right. Well, if you want to invest in this project, maybe I can get something going.
I'm just saying we should just start, peppering this lingo around and see if we can get, some of the Instagram influencers to start using it.
Yeah, I think all the other pickup companies, that's not what they're talking about. Spending their time doing.
Yeah, I don't really.
Number one.
I don't really see RSD releasing "How to Get Pegged in 3 Easy Steps: The System" by Jeffy and Julian.
That's true, but I'm just saying that I just think that it's a good insult that we can use going forward.
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
Leading the charge.
We got to be breaking new ground at all time. All right, anyway, back to Sido.
All right, so just another thing on the Sido situation. As I said before, some people will worry about the morals of this, and I mean, you guys really have to make your own decisions about what you want to do. But here's the thing: if you're going to choose to be unhappy for the entirety of your life, then it's going to have pretty negative effect on both you and other people. And you've only got one life, so you might as well have the experience you want to have and learn from it. Now, you will find that girls generally will be resistant to you having a side hoe if you let them know about it. And there's some good reasons for that, but when it comes down to it, if you actually have a conversation with your girl about it, or you, at the beginning of the relationship, make it clear that this is the setup you want, you'll find quite surprisingly that there are a lot more girls out there who are willing to work with that. Now, initially, they'll probably tell you that they're leaving and they'll get all upset. When they calm down, they'll generally stick around. And the reason being, it's kind of like, and I'm not going to say that you are a superstar or something, but it's kind of like if you look at any kind of high-level guy who has lots of social status or money or whatever, girls who are with them will go, oh, okay, well, they're going to have other girls. That's just how it's going to be. All right, I'll just hallucinate that away. And they'll disregard the other girls and them existing and then focus on the value they're getting from that guy because they want to be able to rationalize the situation so they can work with it. Now, if you have good game and you understand how to interact with women well because you learn how to do it properly, then you'll find that a very similar thing happens where girls go, oh, this guy is quite different from the other guys I'm dating. And I'm getting more good times and orgasms and banging and fun from him than I am from the majority of guys. So I guess I'll be a bit more flexible on the whole him being with other girls thing. And the way girls usually describe this is they'll go, oh, well, he's just that type of guy. And little do they know, we're all like super nerds and we're like sitting there going, haha, how can I make this happen? And being more strategic and shit. But yeah, in their mind, it's just that type of guy. And when you're with a girl, I mean, if you're setting things up and pushing them to go the way you want, typically they'll fall in line. They might make a bit of drama about it for a while, but you have to set what you want. As Rebecca said earlier, you have a plan of what you want, the outcome you want, and then you start pushing towards that, and let chips fall where they may, but then you sneakily push the chips in the right places.
Yeah, I wanna add in something here, which is that, you know, when you're dating anyone for a long stretch of time, invariably they're going to be unhappy with you about something. And, you know, in my book, if they're going to be unhappy with me about something, I want them to be unhappy with me about something that I really, really enjoy a lot, rather than it be, you know, you watch TV too much or something like that. It's like, oh man, giving me shit about something I don't even enjoy. So, you know, I think that definitely they're going to be unhappy in some way. Maybe they're unhappy you work too much. Maybe you're unhappy you spend too much time with your friends. Maybe they're unhappy that, you know, you forgot to get her Tiffany blue box and instead you got her Cartier red box. You know, there's any number of reasons. I mean, I've actually heard of this happening about a guy proposing and the guy got the wrong ring. There was like 2 rings that they looked at and he got the wrong one. And when he proposed to her, she just got upset about how it was the wrong ring. And it's like, that's how murders happen.
Yeah, that's insane.
I know, right? And, you know, and so instead, I always feel like when, you know, I've had a side piece, my girl got really angry about that, then, you know, I feel much more, I mean, obviously I'm not happy that she's unhappy, but I feel like, okay, well, we need to definitely solve this problem because I don't want her to be unhappy about this thing that I really enjoy doing and definitely am not going to stop doing because it's so incredibly awesome. So I think that, you know, that kind of incentivizes finding a solution. And also, you know, if she's going to be upset, then you're not going to mind that much if it's something that you would just really enjoy doing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's really true. They're always going to be upset about something, so it might as well be about something that you feel like you're winning at.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what if she's upset at you about playing too many video games or something? It's like, that sucks.
Yeah, that girl getting upset that there was like the wrong ring. I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah, yeah.
Did he just like tell her, well, I'm upset that you're the wrong girl, get out?
No, it didn't end quite then. Of course, he was really, really pissed. But I guess their relationship continued on for a little bit longer. But in the end, you know, they didn't get married. I don't remember. I think it was he just got fed up with her shit. Because there were a few things like that with her.
That's not surprising at all, though. I mean, I don't even know her, and I'm already fed up with her shit. Really, I mean, it's just like such poor behavior.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so if any of you listening have a great story where you're fed up with some shit from a girl, let us know. Any kind of stories you have or questions you have, either way, hit us up and tell us. We would love to hear about them and answer them and discuss them. We always like hearing wacky stories of this nature.
That is definitely true. We've got one podcast question in. Someone asked a question. Do you guys want to go over it now?
Sure.
Okay, I guess.
All right. Actually, this is somewhat related, I guess. Okay, but anyway, here we go. Here's the question. Is it normal for a man to just date women but never decide on getting married or having a family with children? I think it would be a good strategy to date women and experience love, romance, sex, and intimacy, but not be stuck in the quote-unquote marriage box. do you think that it's possible to strictly date women in Asia, have sexual encounters, but never ever get married or have a family with children? I know I don't want to be married or have a family ever. I think getting married and having children are expectations that society and parents place upon their children. It's what society and parents expect from us, but I don't expect that for myself. I don't think this is freaky or abnormal. What are your thoughts? Well, I guess we kind of tackled this a bit in the last podcast, actually, right?
Yeah, it's not released yet, though.
Right. It's not released yet. Well, it might be released by the time this comes out.
By this. Yeah.
But yeah, we tackled this in the last podcast. But why don't we just very briefly, do you have some comments, McConnell?
Yeah, there's lots of people who are just like you and who don't want to get married and who don't want to have kids. And, many of them are in the pickup community, as it turns out. So, yeah.
And a lot of them are in their 50s or 60s and they're slaying that young poontang.
Yeah. Only thing I would say is that, keep your mind open because you never know. I mean, it's very common that people get into game and they have that mindset and then they
cream pie a girl when they're drunk, and the next thing you know, they're married and living in. But anyway,
that does happen. But that wasn't the specific outcome I was talking about. But anyway, lots of people who get into game end up changing their mind after they decide they do want to have kids, or they do want to have like one long-term relationship. You had one of your former clients come visit here recently. Mm-hmm. And he had just gotten married or is getting married.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So, you never know. Just keep your mind open because if you have less options if you close yourself off like that. So yeah, but you're not alone. Lots of people like you out there.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel this way because when, especially if they've lived in the West only, then their idea of what marriage has to be like is very, very narrow. They think it's just like, you go to your job and then you go home and you watch TV and then, maybe your wife goes out and hangs out with her friends, but you don't have any friends because, you're a guy. So you just hang out at home and then, you decide you want to drink beers, but then your wife tells you you can't anymore. And so then you're just sitting there really bored.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Right. I mean, we did have this discussion, like how common or how rare it is for dads to have.
Yeah, that's
friends.
true. In America. Well, in the West.
Yeah.
Maybe not Europe, but maybe in America.
Yeah, in America.
North America.
But I mean, not in Asia. In Asia, the guys are getting hanging out with their buddies.
Also, keep in mind, a lot of guys also have another thing where they think that in dating, you're either her boyfriend or you're friends with benefits or you're married. They think those are the only three options, I always like usually guys who don't live in Asia, or I mean, actually it's not even that. It's like guys who don't know us, who are like outside of the pickup community. They're always like trying to use these labels and they're like, hey man, do you have any friends with benefits? And it's like, no, I have girls that I'm dating.
Yeah.
So you can, don't give your, don't box things in too much with labels. Like figure out exactly what you want and just get that. And there's probably not a label for it because it's a customized lifestyle.
Right. Yeah. And we have the podcast I mentioned before with Ellie on her open marriage is a great example of how you can be married, but your marriage isn't the kind of lame marriage that you're probably terrified of getting into. And I think we maybe have another. Is there a podcast where we talk about the dude?
I don't know.
We need to interview him.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, we definitely need to interview him. But we know any number of people with what would be in the West totally unacceptable marriage arrangements. And here in Asia, it's just great. And when I say in the West, what I mean is that people are very judgmental about other people's arrangements. They'd be telling your wife, like, you don't have to put up with that. You don't have to accept that. He doesn't treat you right. He doesn't respect you. But, basically in Asia, they let other people have their families kind of however they want to. And there you go. It's like, oh, the kids are fed. They're going to school. All right. Well, party time. So that's what I would say about that. Any comments from you, Kane? Supreme Toker?
No, I don't think I really have anything to add to that at the moment. I think you guys have covered everything. I will say on a broad scale, though, it is kind of crazy when guys are like, oh, well, I can't have or do these things because my wife says no, right? It goes back to what I said about them kind of unconsciously putting their wife in the mother role and then I guess doing things or not doing things based on what's going to make mummy happy. And I remember this when I used to live in Australia. I was doing a sales job, and I heard this phrase over and over again. It just wanted to make me punch people in the face. Every time I would talk to some dude about a big ticket purchase or selling TVs and computers and shit, right? Let's say something's like $1,000, $2,000. I'd be like, all right, so this is thing. It's like this, blah, 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 blah. Talk to them about it. And then they'd go, oh, hold on, I have to ask the boss. And then they would
boss.
Yeah, they would say that phrase. And then they would call their wife, or they would, like, if she was there, go and talk to her. And then she would make the decision about if they could get it or not. And this wasn't like one or two guys. This was like the majority.
What?
Yeah, it was really weird. But I think it's actually a pretty common thing for a lot of Western dudes. Jesus. And yeah, it's just because a lot of dudes are pussies in that regard. And
wow.
Who
knew that Tiffany Blue Box included not only a ring, but your balls as well?
It's just insane, though. Like, because it really, the worst part of it is that it goes against what makes women happy. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily need to be the boss. It's not that you need to have some, like, domineering control over her and be the boss and she's like the servant or something. It's just that I don't think either of you should really be the boss. I think one of you specifically being the boss is probably not very healthy for either of you. And I think for women in their basic nature, it's really bad. Unless you're into pegging.
Yeah, if you're a peg boy, then you can have the boss. You can ask the boss if you've been a good enough peg boy to be able to get a new TV.
Oh, God.
Wow. I can't believe they call their wife the boss.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
We know a girl here who probably has her tall white European boyfriends calling her the boss. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, I do. And I mean, and fair enough.
Yeah, she's not like, that reminds me of Vision. Do you know this story, Kane, about Vision was at the bar with two of his buddies or something, and they're two of his cousins, and they're married, and they're married to these fat girls, and the cousin, I don't know whether he wanted to like smoke another cigarette or order another drink, or he was saying some joke that she thought was like unacceptable, and she was like, oh my God, if you do that again, no sex for a month.
Yeah, I think I don't remember the story, but I think I've heard this before.
And of course, Vision was just sitting there like, whoa, like he was in shock, like just sitting there like, wow. He's like, sex with that girl would be a punishment for me. And then this guy not being able to have sex with her for a month is a punishment. He's like, this is very confusing.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really bizarre situation that a lot of guys find themselves in, because that just doesn't, like, in terms of a healthy relationship, that as a move doesn't make any sense. In terms of an unhealthy, weird, fucked up situation, I mean, it still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's pretty strange to have these kind of, and I mean, and this is the like a perfectly good example of where having a side hoe would come into play. Because then you'd be like, all right, fine. You don't want to be nice to me when I'm just like trying to have fun with my buddies? Okay, well, I'll see you in a couple of days.
Yeah, I guess that's another interesting point, because it does give you some level of leverage in the situation that a girl almost kind of automatically already has.
Yeah.
And that's a really big difference between men and women that I think a lot of men don't experience enough, and a lot of women would like to deny. But typically, a girl can just like go to the supermarket or just download any app and have some dude willing to take her on a date within like an hour or two. And as for guys, it's not really possible in that regard. So yeah, pretty good
Yeah, I
point.
think that's a really important thing to consider because girls don't really look at it that way. So one of the issues that they have with you having a side piece in general is that in their mind, they just feel like there's no reason for you to actually have a girl on standby because for them as women, they don't need to have a guy on standby because they always have, like, if your girl is even moderately decent, she always has every guy she walks by on standby, basically. And so they think that, you know, well, fuck him, I'm going to find somebody. And then she can go on Tinder. And as you said, within an hour, she can be on a date with like a decent guy. Whereas like, you know, for a guy, you know, he's got to swipe through, he's got to like maybe 50 girls or something before he gets a match. And then, you know, maybe not even all of the girls will respond to his messages. And so he has to, you know, swipe several hundred people to get one girl to go on a date with him. And then after the date, you know, he may or may not be able to get her into bed. Whereas the girl, you know, foreigners are so easy. This girl I know, or not this girl I know, my friend took this girl home from, not from a club, but he met her and had a date with her. And she said, she was a Japanese girl. She said, foreigners are so easy. If I go out with the Japanese guy, he might not fuck me. But if I go out with a foreign guy, he'll fuck me every time. So these thirsty betas. So, so I mean, it's really like there's a major power imbalance fundamentally based fundamentally on the genders. So, you know, there's always a vagina scarcity essentially. And, you know, there's just dicks everywhere.
Yeah, it's like an ocean of penises.
That's right. An ocean of penises coming to take your woman away from you. You got to hold back the tide.
You got to ward off. You got to like, game is like your shield and your flamethrower to like fight back and destroy the oncoming penises.
Yeah, but it's really true because basically what happens is that when you seem to be high value to your girl, and then she doesn't see all the other dicks. They just disappear.
Yeah, that's true. She at least pretends that she's like, they're not good enough for her, basically.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments for today's discussion?
I think I'm done for today's podcast. I don't have anything else to go over right now.
How about you, McConnell?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Well, I think we're all good then. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Thank you, McConnell and Kane, for being on the call and contributing with your massive minds.
No problems. I will just say to everybody, go to YouTube and type in Pick Up Asia and check out the videos that are being uploaded.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's our channel. So go there. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can see lots of really cool videos there from McConnell and from Kane.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys next time.
Have a good one.